There we go.
All right,
And
folks.
we're on.
Welcome back to the Trailer Park Show for the brand new year and brand new season. I guess we're like part of the mid-season portion
Yeah,
of the year. So,
I forget when the season's officially over. But anyway, it's my first trip back since out the house since the hospital.
Yeah.
I got out on New Year's Eve. I didn't even go out and watch the fireworks or nothing, of course. I just stayed in the house. I tell you, I'm on one of them 4 pills a day for a week, 3 pills a day for a week, 2 pills a day for a week. You know how that. Then go see the doctor at the end of the month.
Did you eat your grapes?
Eat grapes, cranberries, fruit drinks of all kinds, vegetable juice every day, of course. I like my vegetable juice. I've kind of been doing that anyway. No Norteño band, and I don't know, my buddy, help me.
well, that's okay.
You scared him away.
I scared him away. That's kind of what some people do. But
He is a Norteño music promoter. A lot of people don't understand the difference between Norteño music and other kinds. And I did want to get him here because he has such a connection with the Norteño community that we can hear his side of the.
And in the meantime, let's go ahead. Well,
anyway.
let's go ahead and move on from
That's it.
the Norteño music. Yeah, let's go ahead and do the proper invitations. We have Dave now from the RLC division and the master of I call him the Yoda of all things Republican. We have Michael Cargill, the man that no one wants to mess with.
That's right.
Exactly, and owner of Central Texas Gun Works.
We're going to see what the Travis County Commissioner Court does tomorrow.
That's right. And of course, we have the one and only James Pokey Ritter, who's back from his
Sort
well,
I'm
he's
back, but
well, it's better than an empty chair. Let's
that's
just put it that way.
And it's at least I'm being involved now too.
And he's back from his fun stay at the Casa de Medical Attention.
Yeah.
And of course, on the screen with us here, as people can tell, we have Mr. Silvio Canto Jr., who is a active participant when it comes to voicing his opinions and concerns, and we'll do some more proper introductions on this portion. But he has a site that he uses to talk about his views on everything.
Tonight we're going to hear his views on all kinds of things.
Which is, let's go ahead and talk about the site real quick. It's Canto Talk at blogspot.com. He also does a blog talk. He has a blog talk station where he also does his discussions there. But we'll go ahead and pass it on to Mr. Canto to talk a little bit about who you are. You were here probably about four months ago, but to go ahead and refresh everybody as to who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you very much. Happy New Year. I'm glad to see James is back on the saddle. Very happy to see you back at work, buddy. Good to see that. And my best to all of you for inviting me tonight. Happy New Year. I was originally born in Cuba, and I came to the United States when I was a kid. Mm-hmm. Grew up in the United States. I live in Dallas. Like a lot of people, I'm interested in politics because I think it matters a great deal. If we get our politics wrong, a lot of other things go wrong. So I think it matters a lot to me. So I like to write. I have a blog called My View by Silvio Canto Jr. All you got to do is type my name and it shows up. I also do, as you indicated, the Blog Talk Radio show. And those two things keep me pretty busy. Most of the stuff that I put in my blog is stuff that I submit to American Thinker, which is one of the great conservative websites. And over the last year or so, they've been printing a lot of my stuff. So I've been very fortunate to be associated with them. But at the end of the day, I'm just another fellow here in North Texas who's concerned about our future. My wife and I have 3 sons in their in their 20s, young 20s. One of them is working, the other one's going to school, and the other one is serving in the U.S. Army. He may be watching tonight, so if he is, I say, Alejandro, thank you for your service, and I hope you're doing well. So that's basically me. I'm just like a lot of guys, who's interested in the country, interested in the community, and would like to do my part to make it a better world. That's kind of who I am, guys.
Well, I know I've been reading you for a while, and I do like what you say.
Thank you.
And as I said, originally it planned to have some Norteños on here to talk about their side of the immigration issue, because it is a hot topic and it will be coming up. I don't know if you see some of the headlines about 2014 is going to be it and all that. I don't know.
I mean, I think they will try to do something. We can get into more details as you like. I think something may happen this year, but at the same time, I think it's 50-50 because there's so many other issues on the table. And even though it's early in the year, by May and June, everybody's going to be into the campaign. And by summer and fall, everybody's going to be campaigning. So if they don't get something done really by Memorial Day, let's say, I don't think they're going to get anything done this year. As I said, I think it's still 50-50 that some type of immigration package could be put together. I don't believe in a big immigration package. I think they should break it up into parts and try a couple of things this year and see how that goes. But after the experience of Obamacare, it's only natural that we would be a little skeptical about the federal government doing anything.
No, Bart.
No, he hit it.
Cool.
No, you made a very important point.
Right on the money.
This idea of comprehensive immigration reform, all they did in the comprehensive bill is they took all the quotas and raised them. And then they put amnesty in there. It doesn't make any sense. They need to address the different needs of different sectors of the economy and different groups that want to immigrate to the country individually. They need to have a separate set of laws addressing temporary workers. They can implement that by itself, and a separate set of laws addressing people who really want to immigrate, so that they can get immigrated in a reasonable way under criteria which makes sense, depending on what sector of the economy they want to go into and what kind of jobs they're trying to get. This blanket approach to it just doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to be easy to pass either.
Right. Well, I agree with that. I cannot see you, but whoever just said that, I agree. I don't believe in this gigantic approach. I just don't think that's going to work. I just don't think they have the votes to pass that, nor should they pass it. I would favor breaking up the immigration issue into small parts. I think, James, you may have seen an article that I wrote about this because I know you were sharing it with some of your Facebook friends, but I wrote about this several months ago where I said that what the Congress ought to do is, number one, they really have to focus on border security because that's where it all starts. If we cannot get the border security part correct, it doesn't really matter what else we do. And by border security, I also mean employer enforcement. We've got to come down hard on employers who are hiring people illegally. So I think we need to come down with that. Then, as an act of humanity and goodwill, I would do something about these young people who are here. Many of them who were brought here by their parents. Many of them are going to school, college, high schools. Some cases they want to serve in the Army. I would say to those young people, look, we're going to create for you guys, not all of you, but most of you, an opportunity to be legalized and to some kind of legalization for many of these young people who really have spent most of their lives in the United States anyway. And then the other 10 million, 12 million, whatever the figure is, we're just going to have to wait on that. We're going to have to wait. We're going to have to tell those people, hey, look, we got to.
Oh.
The previous gentleman talked about wages. Right now things are tough for people, and legalizing more workers is probably not a good thing right now for the economy.
That is so true.
I can agree with it. I did read, was that yours I read that for every foreign student in college for math and science, we should attach a visa to their graduation diploma? Where did I read that?
I don't remember writing that specifically. No, I don't remember writing that, but I do feel that we should make it easier for very, very talented people like engineers who want to come to the United States, because those people can be very helpful to the United States. We have a shortage of engineers anyway. Yep. So if there are people studying here in our schools and they want to stay, we should make it easier for them to stay. But that would be, of course, a work visa or something like that, or a guest worker or whatever that somebody else before me mentioned a minute ago.
Now, when you mentioned real quick about the shortage of some of the workforce, like you mentioned the engineers. Now, is that based on what the current need is based on the availability? I mean, is there someplace where we can calculate that number? Because I would imagine that there's probably some people out there that just haven't pursued it because of mitigating factors. For example, wages is going to be one. The other main factor is going to be distance. As many people have talked about with the unemployment factors, and as the whole comprehensive immigration reform was coming up, not a lot of people talked about the individuals that were qualified to do the job, but because they had to make an adjustment and move, that they refused because they didn't want to move from the location that they were at, and those individuals may have not been counted as to saying, okay, here's the number in the available workforce.
Well, I certainly don't have the numbers. All I can tell you, Gabriel, it's great, Gabriel who just
Yes,
spoke,
sir.
right? Yeah, all I can tell you, Gabriel, is that my understanding is that we're not graduating enough engineers in the United States.
Right.
So as a consequence, we have a shortage of homegrown engineers. And all I'm saying is that if we have an opportunity to import engineers from other countries, we should be focusing a great deal on immigration that helps the American economy. I mean, the Canadians have a very interesting approach about this. You know, they put a big premium on those immigrants who can bring specific talents to
Right.
their country, whether it be educational talents or other talents. And I'm just simply saying that we should be doing something similar, so that we can bring some people into the United States who can create jobs, who can create jobs by starting companies like a lot of the Indian immigrants did in the West Coast years ago. And certainly if you bring in an engineer.
Uh-oh. You froze up again.
Turns around and he become a taxpayer and contributor to our country.
Right. So would we look at bringing them in temporarily while we are trying to push our?
All right, H1N1, let it be
Well,
permanent.
no. We tell them, okay, you guys are going to be in here for 2 to 3 years while we're trying to bring in those that are U.S. citizens, with the intent actually of staying here, to go through the ranks and be able to get their education. And once
don't believe that works.
Well, we need an education system that actually prepares them for those kind of jobs, which we don't have right now. That's
All
one
they
of the
got
big
now is
problems we
lawyers.
have. The other problem we have is a demographic problem. In the 1950s, the average skilled worker family moved at an average every 5 years. And they're not doing that anymore. People aren't willing to relocate for jobs. And we don't exactly have a job shortage. We have regional job shortages. So if you, like, for example, want to work as a diesel mechanic, there are lots of jobs for diesel mechanics available in the Pacific Northwest, not so many available on the East Coast. So you have to be where the jobs are, and people aren't willing to move where the jobs are anymore, except, of course, for immigrants, because they're all coming from outside the country anyway. So wherever they're going, they're moving. So it's a lot easier in some cases to find somebody to fit a job qualification from outside the country than it is from inside the country. One of the big examples of that.
Go ahead, because I wanted to say something about
Nursing
that,
is
but
one
I
of the
didn't
biggest
mean to
examples of
interrupt you.
that. We cannot find enough nurses in the United States. We're bringing them in from all over the world to fill the jobs that we have. A lot of the jobs on the West Coast, where there's a lot of growth, a lot of more aging population, for example, in the upper Western states. And we bring nurses in from the Caribbean, we're bringing them from Africa, we're bringing them from Southeast Asia, from Central America.
I can vouch for that. That was just
Yeah.
if
yeah.
you got an RN and a BSN, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, you are in demand in this country.
And well paid,
Right,
too.
right.
Well paid, get a job anywhere you want.
That's right. But, the gentleman who just spoke, who was talking about people moving around, as I said, I cannot see you, so I don't know
Dave.
who
I'm
that
Dave.
who
That's
that was.
Dave.
But he makes an excellent point, which is one of the reasons that I'm opposed to these extensions of unemployment benefits. Because what we're doing with unemployment benefits is we're basically keeping people in their current station and not forcing people to be creative and to look for work elsewhere. If you went to North Dakota, you can find jobs in just about anything.
They're desperate. They're
Because
holding
the
jobs
economy is
fairs.
growing so much.
North Dakota
But if you
companies are
stay in
holding-
Michigan, you're not going to find a job. And if they can be extending your unemployment benefits as long as they want to, you're not going to find a job because the jobs aren't there, because they've gone away for a lot of different reasons.
Companies in
So
North
that's a
Dakota-
good point this gentleman made.
Companies in North Dakota are holding job fairs in Dallas right now to try to find people here in Texas who have experience in the oil industry to go up to North Dakota, where the conditions aren't as nice as they are down here. There's no housing available, or they're living in tents because they have so many jobs available. They bring in people more than they can accommodate right now, but they're paying huge wages. and people don't generally want to live in North
I've
Dakota.
seen them
but-
living in their car up there.
Yeah, but
In
it's
Bismarck,
worth
I
it.
think it was.
But it's worth it. if
But
you get
that's
paid more.
temporary. I mean,
Yeah,
that
it-
will
it- yeah.
eventually.
The
I
infrastructure
mean, they
will
will
catch up.
eventually have communities and towns
Yeah.
as they, as they bring in people. But your point is correct. I mean, they're looking for people. A lot of Americans don't want to move, and I think a lot of it is the unemployment benefits that we're paying to people that keeps them in their current station, pretending that their jobs are coming back. They're not coming back.
Right, and they can take unemployment and go on the gray market, work part-time, work for jobs for cash to make up a little bit of extra money, have some sort of internet business on the side, and never have to go out and get a full-time job again because we're giving them unemployment endlessly, and they're apparently talking now this week about extending it even more.
That's
I
right.
don't think those are the people we're really talking about. That's not the immigration issue. I think the people we're talking about are the people that are hanging out at Home Depot and places like that. So what do we do, with, because not everyone's going to be a doctor. Not everyone's coming here to be a nurse. So let's really
You want
talk
to
about.
crank it down into something that
Well,
we know
Right.
about
What,
the trailer
what are
park.
we really talking
Well,
about?
Michael,
here?
those are the people who need guest worker visas.
Right.
I mean, they're not coming up here to live. The Pew Research did a study that said that 80% of the immigrants who come across the border aren't coming here to become immigrants. They're coming here to get a job.
Right.
And they're mostly working in construction or in, lawn maintenance or in
So what do we do?
sort of
With,
small
so
factory
what do we
jobs.
do with those people?
We catch them at the border and we say, you can have this card. It'll let you be here legally. As long as you're employed, don't have a gap of more than, say, a month in between jobs, and check in regularly, you can stay here and work.
And what do we do with the people that are already here?
Well, hopefully,
Catch 'em
well, if we make it attractive to be legal, presumably they'll want to be legal. And we don't. And one of the things that I think is really bad about the immigration bill they're considering now is that we punish these people. And I'm a free
You're
market.
not going to want to turn it into
I'm a free market kind of guy, and that includes the idea of a free market in labor. If there are jobs and people want to go to get those jobs, I don't consider that to be wrong. It may technically break the law, but it's good for the economy, and it's good for everybody to have workers available to fill the jobs that you have.
And then what do we do with the people that the kids are here who were born here?
dreamers
but
like
the-
he was talking
Right.
about earlier.
But the parents are, not,
Yeah.
and I'm talking on that lower scale, not your doctors,
Yeah.
your
Well,
nurses.
I'm very open-minded about that stuff because I think the educational system is the way that we get these people to be more functional in society. A Mexican immigrant who learns how to speak English from his kids is going to have a better job opportunity. He's going to move up. He's going to be the guy who organizes the group of other laborers, and he's going to get paid better. I don't like the idea of government schools all that much, but it is a definite benefit that we have them there and that they can put their kids in our schools. If they couldn't do that, they'd be isolated. They'd be ghettoized even more than they already are.
Then what do we do about the people that are receiving benefits?
I don't like. We shouldn't.
Okay.
I mean, they shouldn't be getting benefits.
Okay.
Now, when you say benefits, are you talking about people that are part of the housing system, or
Section 8
Yeah,
or
they shouldn't
Lone
be
Star
under
card?
Section 8.
well, and because that's going to be the discussion. That would be something that I actually had a discussion with an attorney that worked with Cesar Chavez. The people that are here illegally, they're getting the benefits because of the fact that they have a child that's here in the United
Right,
States.
benefits are monitored through the school. That's what they keep track of.
Well, they're monitored. They're monitored through when it comes to the state system. They're being given to the family who is applying for assistance, which is going to be normally a person who is undocumented or illegal, and they're the ones whose names are on the application for the Section 8. They're the ones that are receiving the benefits for TANF, food stamps. It's all under their name. The argument that comes up is saying, okay, well, it's going for the child, and it's like, well, great, it's going for the child, but why don't you put it under the child's name instead of the mom's? Instead of Maria Juarez, it's going to go under James Smith, which happens. That name does happen.
Can we back up here just a minute now, these dreamers? I understand these kids, most of them have never been to Mexico. None of them, they don't speak Spanish. Do we deport them? There's some of them being deported with their families.
I've heard terrible stories about them being deported. And they
When you
don't.
say dreamers, are they here? So they're here because they were born here?
Yeah,
No.
we're talking about
Yeah.
people who came
No,
over here.
these are the
a
ones
long
that
time ago.
these are the ones that came in under through their
very
parents
young.
here illegally.
Because they came here, they were young.
Correct. And Mr. Canto had him and I were talking last night, and he had some pretty good insight or some ideas as to what to do. Or in fact, I'm going to put him on the spot right now because we were talking about that last night about the dreamers. What would your thoughts be about taking care of them? You and I have a different opposing view on this one, but I'd rather.
You want to hear his view?
Exactly.
Your view.
No, I'd rather hear
Well,
his view.
I think that with the dreamers, what they call them dreamers, and that comes from the Dream Act.
Right.
But they estimate that it's about 600,000 of these young people who were brought to the United States. Some of them I've met some who were brought here when they were babies, literally, and they're 18 years old right now. They've been in Dallas all their lives. And my suggestion is that you take these young people and you offer them a path to legalization, not citizenship, but legalization. And it would be based, it'd be conditional. I mean, it wouldn't be for everybody, but it would be conditional on maybe how they're doing in school, if they're going to high school, if they graduate from high school, if they're going to college. And the reason I think we do that is because if a kid is graduating from high school, top of his class, or he's in college, chances are this is a person who's going to contribute to our society. And why not just legalize somebody like that who's already here, okay? And simply give that person an opportunity to work in the United States. I don't think that should be that controversial. The more controversial issue is, what do you do with the 10 to 12 million people who are here without papers, who are currently working in most cases? What do you do with them? And that's the controversial issue. That's what divides both parties, and we can get into that later. But with the dreamers, I would simply say, let's take care or offer as many of these kids as possible an opportunity to stay in the United States, because they're going to contribute to the United States. That's my whole philosophy.
Well,
I mean, the other gentleman who was talking about a free market for labor, look, I would love to see more young people in the United States with high school degrees, and in some cases college degrees, technical degrees. Those are young people who are going to contribute to our country, guys.
Well, I got a question here. Yes, to become productive, you know about the lawyer out there in California.
Right, which is going to be a great
So if
segue
he's
for
already
that.
if they're not going to be citizens, but legal residents, I think the term is, do we allow them to have these professional licenses? Like, what if he's a doctor or a lawyer?
So real quick, if we can, just so that we can go ahead and catch everybody up, and so that we know what you're talking about here. In California, we have there's a gentleman by the name of Sergio Garcia who came to the United States here through his parents as a kid. He ended up leaving for one reason or another, but then at 17 came back, went to school, paid for his own way to when he went to the university, legally, mind you. Then earned his degree as an attorney or in law. Took the California State Bar, passed it on the first try, and wanted to become sworn in through the state of California. Now the problem that comes up is something that
He's not a legal.
he's not a U.S. citizen or a legal citizen to be able to say, I swear that I'm going to represent, however the wording is, saying that I'm going to uphold the law of the land, which is that of the United States. And in California, they passed a law to go ahead and bypass that, to allow undocumented residents or documented citizens, however you want to call them, to become eligible and be certified through the state of California, representing
Not as a legal aid, but as actual full-fledged
as
lawyer.
a full-fledged lawyer. And on the fourth, I believe it was on the 4th or this week, he ended up being sworn in as an attorney
Well, that's
to
crazy.
the California
That's
State Bar.
crazy. And I did write an article about that, guys. That is crazy what they're doing in California. That and giving them driver's licenses, that is crazy. That devalues the whole question of legal residency. I mean, people who've come here, they've obeyed the law.
Hold on, you're killing Dave.
What reward are you giving them when you're giving an illegal person a driver's license or the opportunity to join the bar? Just I don't mean to be splitting hairs, but you can go to law school in the United States on a student visa, even though you're not a U.S. citizen or a resident. What this gentleman is doing is he's joining the state bar as an attorney, even though he's in the country illegally. To me, that's insane, and that's a mockery. You're mocking the
Hold
law.
on here. Go ahead, Dave.
It's not that insane. What you're talking about with the driver's license, that's insane.
Well, I kind of favor Paul Workman's driver's license. Never
Well,
mind.
I understand why they
I
have
understand.
the driver's license, but the legal thing with the lawyers is different. Because right now when you're a lawyer, you get certified to practice in a particular state, like usually your home state. But then you may practice law in other states as well, and those states then certify you to practice law in those states. It's the same thing. This guy, not a U.S. citizen, but he's practicing law in the United States, and he should be able to be certified by the bar of the state that he's practicing in. Just like in California, if you're practicing in California and you're from New York, they would certify you to practice in California, but as a non-resident lawyer. They do that all the time. Why should it be any different for this guy who's technically
Okay,
not
but I
American?
think there's a difference. You may not when you say he's not a U.S. citizen, he's not a legal resident. Okay, you can be a lawyer in the United States
Right.
if you're not a citizen. I don't
you
think you
can.
have to be a U.S.
You
citizen
need
I
to be
didn't
here
know
to be a
legal.
lawyer.
Right.
I'm
Here
talking
legally.
about legal residency.
Right.
I'm talking about having legal residency in the United States, which is totally
Well,
different.
how hard should it be for a well-qualified lawyer to get a green card? It shouldn't be difficult.
Well, that's my other question. My other question about this gentleman, Sergio Garcia, is that he's 36 years old. So he marginally qualifies as a dreamer. In fact, I'm not even
Right.
sure he qualifies as a
1986
dreamer
is-
because,
1986 is the cutoff.
you know, in 1986, there was a full amnesty. That would have been, what, 28 years ago? So that means when he was 8 years old, his parents could have given him full amnesty or asked for full amnesty. So why didn't they do it? You know, why didn't he go back and say, look, I was here in 1986. I would like to apply for that amnesty. So I don't get that either. You know, what has this guy been doing for 36 years? Why hasn't he applied for residency before?
I think-
So
I
I think
think-
it's
I
a
don't know the answer to
legitimate
that.
question.
I think
as
it's a
to-
cop out because we're saying, look, you're gonna allow people to get their driver's license. You're gonna allow people to become an attorney. That's a big cop out. We need to address the problem. Their problem is, are you gonna make them a legal resident or are you gonna send them back? So we need to address the issue and then go forward from there, not go straight to the driver's
You like
license.
this flat out to the
Well,
point stuff, don't you?
here's an interesting question that I want to throw out to
cop-out.
everybody, and this is something I'm curious about, because a lot of people, including myself, I'm a firm believer that states' rights. We have the law of the land, as the way we like to hear some of the Democrats say, and Huffington Post. Anyway, they enjoy saying the law of the land. Now, we have states' rights where allow us to go ahead and make adjustments, if you will, to go ahead and meet the needs of the state. So, based on this situation where we have somebody here who is illegal, and has gone to the whole rigmarole and is now certified, would it be safe to say that the state can say, hey, guess what, federal government, I know you have a rule out here, but I want to go ahead and make a change so that we allow this person over here who's here illegally to come in and be able to practice law within our state? And if so, how far up the bar do they allow them to practice? Because I'll throw this in there as well. As a person who, if you're applying for disability assistance with Social Security, and I use this example with Mr. Canto, I use that with you, James. If you are representing somebody to apply for disability assistance, you can only go up to one level or only so far before you need an attorney, and that attorney has to step in to represent you at the federal level.
I'm going to show you how asinine that is. Okay, so I'm going to get this attorney who's not even here legally to legally represent me in a case where I'm trying to become a resident or a legal citizen of the United States, and he's not even legal himself. That's how asinine it is. That's what you're going to do.
Like an immigration lawyer, the telephone book's full of them.
Exactly. He's going to be an
He
immigration
makes great
lawyer.
immigration
I
lawyer.
agree with that last statement, whoever said that. As I
Mr.
said, I
Cargill.
cannot see you, so I don't know who said it, but I think it is absolutely asinine to have an attorney practicing law representing the law of the land when he's not even a legal resident. Now, if he became a legal resident and he had a green card, I have no trouble with him practicing law.
Okay,
But the question is, he's not a legal resident. That's my beef.
All right, well, we know it's probably done for political reasons. I mean, it is California. You know what they say about California? Land of the best fruits and nuts. So, what do you expect from California?
Well,
they're
okay, everywhere
pretty nutty
except
there,
for
yeah.
Central California.
There are people in Central
I
California?
just put heads there.
No, that's the conservative section of California. The conservative section is in the middle because it's all farmland.
Right.
So all the good people are sitting there.
Just remember to wear flowers if you go to San Francisco.
And avoid the Castro district at all costs.
Or some
every
flowers in
every
your
time-
hair if you go to San Francisco.
Every time immigration comes up, all my Tea Party friends start screaming no amnesty. And I know my friend Paul Workman there, he had a really good bill, 2 sessions ago? It was a driver's license bill, because my big thing is we don't know who these people are.
Right.
They've had no preliminary physical, mental, or criminal background check. The case I like to bring up, I used to go to the border a lot and pick up the trash, and the guy got picked up in Florida treated for tuberculosis in Atlanta and deported to Laredo, and he threw all his paperwork into the river, and me and Jesse Contreras picked it up, and that's how we know about it. And so nobody knew who this guy was. Tuberculosis, he's traveling around Southeast America with tuberculosis.
Well, remember Angel Resendez Ramirez, who was traveling around south along the border, going back and forth on the trains, and he was a serial killer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's and Paul Workman's bill didn't have amnesty in it. These people are already here. We have a large community here, right in Austin. They're already out there driving around. They're getting wrecked. They drive off or
There's
get
a
out
large
and run.
number. There's a large number everywhere now.
There's
Let's go and face reality. It's a large number everywhere, and I don't care about the 11, 12 million that people are saying that are in the shadows. I'm going to say that it's probably 4 times that amount, because it's going off of numbers that we know, and they're saying they're kind of tabulating the people that we know that are here illegally, based on applications, based on people that have been picked up, or whatever the case may be. And they're kind of calculating that number, but I really think that they're shortballing that, or they're lowballing that number.
They might be, and I do know a lot of these stories and figures are like the guy's got 15 kids in Mexico and he's getting all his cash back. Yes, they have that, but that's not near as often as they would make you think it is. But what I'm trying to say is there's something realistic we could do to identify all these people. With the Dreamers, one more time with the Dreamers. Part of the problem there is their parents couldn't take them back home to Monterey for Grandma's house for Easter and Christmas. As you know, in the Hispanic community, Easter and Christmas is big.
Right.
If they could get to and back, then they could go visit Grandma. But being dump trucks, I know some, and they never went home for Christmas because they couldn't get back.
Who cares?
And that kind of thing. Well, that kind of thing is an incentive that can be used to get them to sign up on a list, get a card, and be tracked. And
then they can travel.
What I worry about is in the immigration bill, there's a plan to basically have everybody in America have a biometric ID, so they can track all of us, so they can identify which of us aren't immigrants, and thereby know who are the immigrants, who are the illegals. Well, I'd rather track the illegals directly, or make them legal and track them that way, than have all Americans be under more scrutiny to try to figure out who's not.
No barcode on my
and it looks like we have.
Well, I'd rather not have that too. Yeah.
And if we can
No
have somebody
RFID
check,
chips.
if we can have real quick, if we can have somebody check on Mr. Canto, it looks like
We lost him.
we lost him just
Oh,
briefly.
we
So, Mrs. Pokey, if possible,
Let me turn it into sort of graphic.
he's kind of hidden there in the back. We're going to try to work on getting Mr. Canto back so we can continue the discussion of.
He's getting smaller.
He's getting smaller and
disappeared.
he's hidden.
See, that was my. Can't we find some way to identify these people? Check them for communicable diseases or something?
Here's the problem that has to come up. It's going to be based voluntarily. That's the only way they can do it now. Now they did have a process. Now probably wasn't the best way to do it, but in the 30s,
Bracero program.
well, we had the Bracero program, but before that, there was the Mexican Reclamation Act. Anybody who was considered who was identified as being from Mexico or from a foreign country, more from Mexico, they were reported, deported, and they were branded, or they were identified. They were tagged or tagged and bagged, as bad as that sounds. But they were checked on to make sure that they were here legally, and that the parents or the head of the household was identified as being illegal or not being here as a U.S. citizen. Out you go.
Yeah, but
It sounds bad.
the theory now is that that's just such a big job that we aren't up to doing it.
Right.
Yeah,
and
how do
of
you
course,
do
and
that
of course,
to how many millions?
and the other problem that comes up on that end is because you're going to have the families who were shamed, and I call it shamed because back in the 80s, if we had I'll use my family as an example. We have family members who were here from Mexico that wanted to come in,
That's it.
and
Go ahead, sir.
and they're working on that portion right now. I'm trying to get that squared away. But what happened is that when my
we're gonna
parents
reconnect here in
asked,
just a minute, I think.
asked for, had the family members from Mexico saying,
All
hey,
right,
can
we're
you
gonna
help me
try
out?
it.
My parents would say no.
Bye.
Because they're like, no, I'm not going to get in trouble with the government.
Where'd she go?
And they're working on that portion right
Well,
now.
that carries on now. Living out in Manor, the Mexican community there, the ones who've been here for 3, 4, 5 generations, they're more hostile to the illegals than the white or African American population.
That's what Happy
everybody.
Lorena was saying,
Yeah.
the Tejanos, because I know like in the music Norteño, some Tejanos are upset because Norteño's taken over.
Well, the problem that comes up on that part is because you're dealing with probably like the second generation.
There you go.
Oh, we got Mr. Canto back, and we
Yeah,
lost.
guys, I'm sorry, but all of a sudden it said that we had lost our internet connection, so I apologize.
Oh, no, not a problem at all.
I got lost right before you started doing
we got
Norteño,
20
so
minutes, so,
I didn't. Was anybody dancing? Did I miss that part?
No,
Channel Austin cut us, so I reconnected up a
Okay.
different way.
Okay, we had a network issue over here. They
Oh,
apparently
okay,
don't like
all right,
Skype
well,
over
good.
here.
I just
I
thought
guess-
I was disappointed. I had missed one of you guys dancing Norteño. I was really looking forward to that.
Well, we had a slight change on that one, sir. The people that were going to be coming over here to play, they decided to go ahead and cancel at the last
Oh,
minute.
okay.
Which
All right.
happens,
No problem.
but
I'm just joking, but
but we-
said,
but we did
when
see,
I got disconnected there for a second, I said, "Oh my gosh, I won't get to see you dancing Norteño, James," and I was really looking
Exactly.
forward to that.
We'll have another chance at it.
he
And
was
to bring
getting-
it kind of up, if we can bring up what you missed, I was asking, what can we do to identify these people or get them some kind of
Right. Right. That's a good
on a-
question, and my answer to that would be, after we take care of the border, after we take care of the dreamers, we should do that fairly soon, maybe this year. Then we can begin a long-term solution to identify those people. Maybe we can ask them to show up at different stations or whatever to identify themselves. Maybe we can give them an opportunity to apply for a work visa so they can work legally in the United States. Once we give them the work visa, then we can do a background check, then we can get their fingerprints, we can do the health check that you're talking about so that we don't have people with TB running around. So, but that's just going to take time because you're talking about, someone said it could be more than 10 million. I believe it is more than 10 million, but let's just say it's 20 million people. Processing 20 million people could very well take 5 to 6 years. So how to deal with those 10 to 12 million people who are here illegally, that's a long process, and everybody's just going to have to be patient. I don't know what else to say. Deporting them, sending them back or whatever, I don't really think that's a practical option, in the sense that it would tie up your police force and your courts. I'm not sure that would work out real well. But we have to fix it. But we don't, but we have to take our time because we got other problems in the economy and in the country right now, guys.
I don't think it would tie up the courts if when a person is arrested for a crime or something like that, you turn them over to immigration.
Yeah, but they won't do that.
We're doing it here in Travis County. If
No,
you get
well,
arrested
A
here.
lot of places they don't. The cops call the immigration people. The immigration people are like, "Oh well, we don't have anybody to spare right now. We can't help you out."
And that is because of the Homeland Security. Because of the food chain is the way it goes down. For those that aren't familiar with that process, Homeland Security is basically the end all and be all when it comes to saying what needs to be done. And if you track down what happened back in 2006, when Bush was in, they were saying, get them out of here. You catch them, you send them to immigration or to ICE, and then you get them out. The counties, at that point, or the county sheriffs fought back and said no. And I remember one gentleman in El Paso, Leo Samaniego, who was the sheriff, he says, we're not going to do this. He's like, because these are family members, we're going to refuse to do this. So there was backlash on that whole portion. But it comes down from the top and it goes down to the bottom. And then somewhere in between, somebody says yes or no. Now it's basically saying catch and release and let them go ahead and do what they're going to do. So,
Well, another thing to consider, guys, is what Mitt Romney mentioned during the campaign that became very controversial, but he was exactly right when he talked about self-deportation. We're already seeing that. There are already Mexicans going back to Mexico because they cannot find work here.
Right.
And they go back to Mexico. These are rational people. When they wake up one morning and they can't find a job, they simply say, I'm going home. And they just go home and they go back to where they came from. So I think you'll see a lot of that happen as well.
So
Not
should
as
it-
much perhaps as we like, but I think a lot more than people realize.
So should we look at should we change the climate now, where we have businesses now looking for more U.S. citizens, legal LPRs, whatever the case may be, people that are here legally that are legal to work, so that they can go ahead and, I guess, create an environment where people say, look, I'm here legally, I can't find the work, I've got to go down south or go down north or east or wherever to go ahead and find the jobs.
Well, that's what we used to call the Bracero program that we had back in the 1950s and in the 1960s. We had a program like that. It was more agricultural related, but basically that's what that was. American employers were allowed to bring in Mexicans legally, and these Mexicans would work in the fields, and then at the end of the season they go home with money.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to that.
No,
but
what I'm saying is that do we have business? Do we encourage businesses to create the environment where we have people that are here legally to work, to hire those
Well,
individuals
you do
as
it by
opposed.
penalizing them. You do it by having penalties that are pretty severe.
Right, and I
So-
know that certain states have done that, and I think they bypassed that with contractual work on that end, which is
Right,
fine.
and that's how they get around it,
Right.
because then they hire people from the temp agency. But I mean, you have to, I think, as part of border security. Everybody, when they talk about border security, they talk about putting troops on the border or protecting the border. But to me, part of border security is also going after the employer. So that if you're an employer and you hire somebody without papers, you need to know that if you get caught, the penalty is going to be very severe. And if you keep doing it, we're going to put you in jail. Now, if we start treating employers that way, then all of a sudden the incentive to hire people without papers will disappear. And a person without papers is not going to be able to find a job, and he's going to go back to Mexico. Then employers are going to tell the government, look, we can't find people. What do we do? Well, maybe we can import somebody, or maybe we can train people here, or maybe we can do something in the United States so that more high school kids graduate, for example, with skills that we actually need
You're gonna get a chance, Dave.
in
Hold
our
on.
workforce.
And in the meantime, they go out of business because they can't find any workers. They can't keep their
Well-
prices low enough to operate.
Well, you're exactly
Good point.
right, but you can also create a situation where you can look. Let me give you a personal example. About 10 years ago, as part of my regular job, I was working with a company who wanted me to go to Monterrey, Mexico, and bring 10 line mechanics. Okay, line mechanics are very hard to find in the United States because our high schools are not graduating people like that anymore. Everybody wants to be
more shop
something other than a blue-collar worker, I guess. So we don't have line mechanics. So I was sent down to Mexico to look for 10 people. I actually interviewed people in Mexico. They were going to bring these people legally to the United States with a visa. They were going to pay all the paperwork and all of that. But they needed line mechanics so badly, they had to do it that way because they couldn't find them in the United States. That's the type of thing that we can do, if we had a system where, let's say you as an employer, let's say you wanted to hire somebody and for whatever reason you couldn't find them in the United States. Well, you should be able to work with the U.S. Embassy, let's say in Mexico, and bring somebody from Mexico to work up here temporarily.
They got consulates in every border town.
But the problem is we don't have a good system to handle that. That's what needs to be in the immigration law, is a system where you can
Right.
connect the workers with the employers legally and do it in a way that's more efficient than the current illegal system.
I agree 100%. I agree 100%. I mean, we have to have we have to recognize that we have shortages of certain. Now, I agree with what you said before about the regional differences. That's true, but we do have some professions that we don't have a lot of people.
Find
we're
an
not
American
graduating.
bricklayer or a carpenter.
Whatever. But what I'm saying is, there's nothing wrong with bringing
I know you gotta
somebody
say
from another country, if we need that person, as long as we bring that person legally. My beef is the illegality of it, because I think that creates all kinds of other problems. When you've got people in the country without papers, that creates problems. It's not just the labor problem. You've got other problems as well.
All right,
I
Mike.
mean, if that's what you want to do with your business, go overseas somewhere and try to find someone and work with the embassy and bring them over here, then that's fine. But what we're saying is we don't want to invest in the people that we have here and our own citizens and try to train them and maybe do on-the-job training, because we forgot about that. There is on-the-job training, and to mentor them to do what we want them to do. I think that's possible. We're saying that our people here in the United States are not smart enough to
Sounds like we need
switch to a
education.
Well, our
industry.
right,
No,
our
I
education
didn't
system
say that.
has
If
made
you
them
understood
not
it
smart.
that way, then let me apologize. I didn't say that or meant to say that. What I'm simply saying is every effort should be made. I agree with you. The American people are very smart and very good workers, and every effort should be made to let's say mentor and train young people so that they can work in these jobs that we're talking about. I'm simply talking about if we run into a shortage where you cannot find somebody in the United States, then I'm open to the idea of finding them somewhere else. But I agree with you 100%. We should be making every effort to train Americans and put Americans first. It should be about putting Americans first when it comes to jobs, and Americans should always have an advantage over anybody else. That's what I meant to say. It's only
But we're already
as a small
disadvantaged.
option, guys.
Yeah,
Well, the problem we have is the Americans are disadvantaged to start with because of our crappy educational system. And apprenticeship programs, which would be great, or mentoring programs, those are wonderful things to have, but the teachers' unions won't let us have them because they don't create jobs for teachers.
10-4. We got
Well,
10 minutes left.
But that's another topic. You'll have to bring me back sometime, and I'll rant about the teachers' union.
Yeah, we will, because that's part of the problem here for sure. We got 2 minutes left. I wanted to go on to this. All this seems complicated. I'm still stuck on how do I identify the people that are here now and make it some kind of background check on them, make them legal or some way, not amnesty.
Right. Well, what I would say, James, in that situation is that I would offer these people, I would say, look, you've got 3 years to identify yourself. Here's a courthouse. You can go, you come, you present yourself, we take your
won't be
fingerprints,
deported.
you tell us who you are, and we're going to give you a temporary legal standing while we investigate you. But in the meantime, we know who you are.
Maybe a quick
Now-
doctor's check.
Now, here's the part of the quickest way you can do this. As I mentioned before, we have a whole bunch of people that are identified in the state roles when it comes to Section 8, Medicaid, you name it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start with that,
you
huh?
start with them first. You go ahead and say, you have the caseworker that's going to be applying for them for the year, and you say, if you want to go ahead and get this,
2-year visa or something.
well,
and-
whatever identification card. Whatever identification card to be able to say who they are so that they have the opportunity to stay here without any problem, because the caseworker has an option. In every state that you're in, has an option to report them to ICE. But they don't. But a lot of people don't do it
And-
because of moral issues.
And because the culture of those social service workers is to bring more people in.
Correct.
To get more
Right.
people on their programs and not to get them in trouble or report them.
Correct.
So you're
I
not
think
gonna
that's a good
cooperate.
point, what you just said. Yeah.
Right. So on those individuals, you give them whatever card to be able to say, okay, look, we're gonna, you can stay here. If you want to go ahead and try to be able to get some type of work based on your skills, you need to let us know. But here's a card. But you need to come over here to whichever place you're going to go to, and even the caseworkers. Although the state caseworkers are burdened right now with this whole ACA rollout, they are hurting bad. Okay. And that's another story. That's another show. That's another
You're in the
That's another
business.
10
Well,
shows on that
I
part.
just want to say something, guys,
Yes,
that
sir.
I agree with you about finding these people and identifying them. I just hope whoever designs the computer to do that is not the same people who designed
Oh, God.
Obamacare.
They're not going to be Canadian. They're going to be American made. They're not going to be from Canada.
They're not going to be
All right.
Hillary Clinton, whatever her name is, Michelle Obama's
Crony-
college
yeah,
chum,
yeah, they're not going to be friends from. We're gonna get somebody from
From Texas. We're
from
going to get somebody from Texas. to do it.
Exactly.
Deloitte and Touche. We're going to hire Deloitte and Touche to do it. There you go.
We're going to get somebody. We're going to get James to do it. James going to do
James
it.
can probably do it off of.
Probably did a better job than what we.
James is going to create a program. It's going to be called 10-4.
Copy
And
that.
this program is going to be called 10-4. And every time you register successfully, it tells you 10-4.
I like it. I like it. I like it. But that'd be the first way. Then after that, you bring in the other individuals. Now, when it comes to the household members, obviously they're identified in there, so they can participate in this program as well. And then it's everybody else that we say, okay, let's go
And
to
if they're
enroll
part of a
them.
program, you've got leverage
And also,
on
one thing I wanted to say, guys, very quickly. I know we're running out of time, and I love to come back and do it some other time because it's a
Excellent.
great topic. But one thing you're going to have, not all of these people are going to actually want to stay.
Right.
Because when you start doing background checks and when you start doing inquiring as to who they are, a lot of these people are going to wish, they're probably going to say, that's a little bit more information that I want to give you, and they're going to go back. So my guess is that about half of them will go back.
Right.
Because they're going to find that we're going to be asking them a lot more questions they want to give us.
Real quick, if I could, I know, like you said earlier, a lot of these people don't want to even be citizens. They just want to work.
I agree.
And you don't, as we started with, you don't think the issue will come up strongly in the campaign, the immigration issue?
Of course it will.
At
Oh
least
yeah,
the
I think
campaign,
so.
if not-
I mean, I think Obama is going to play it as much as he can, because that's all he's got right now. Like they're talking about income inequality and all that kind of stuff.
My
They're
friends
going
at
to
that
play
tonight.
it. They're going to play it, but I think we're okay this year on that issue.
Yeah, my friend's at income. I have a Democrat friend, believe it or not. He's at an income equality thing tonight. I said, Yeah, you and your $10 Big Mac people, get on down there. I know how to push your buttons.
Minimum living wage, $15 an hour.
It'll
Go
be a
for it.
$10
Yeah,
Big
right.
Mac. They're not going to stop till you can't afford a Big Mac.
That's right.
Yeah, we appreciate it, sir. We got like 5 minutes left. Anything you want to say real quick before we leave? Then we got to make some announcements. There's a gun show vote coming up in the county.
Travis County.
Commissioners
Commissioners
tomorrow. I know that's where me and Dave first worked together too, wasn't it, at the gun show?
Yeah.
We were voter registered. I said, what are we voter registering here for? Everybody here already
Everybody's
votes.
already registered to vote, yeah.
But I saw it as a free ride into the
Exactly,
anyway.
an excuse to go to the gun show.
Exactly.
You get a gun show for free.
Exactly. So go ahead. Or,
Close an argument for him.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Mr. Cantu, closing arguments.
Oh, I know. I just wanted to say thank you so much for inviting me, and I would simply say I think there is a way to resolve this immigration issue, but I really like the gentleman on the panel who said we got to take care of Americans, and because we got to take care of American workers. And I'm very concerned about that. American workers are under the gun right now with this bad economy. Wages are not going up, and we got to take care of American workers first, and then we worry about other people.
exactly. Well, Mr. Canto, thank you very much again. It's Canto Talk.
Thank you.
At Canto, it's Canto Talk blog talk.
Yeah,
Blog Talk Radio.
if you just write if you just Google Canto Talk, CANTO Talk, it'll take you to it.
Put that in the search
So
engine,
just-
it'll come up, huh?
That it should, yeah, it should, unless I got deleted over the last 60 minutes.
Well, no, it was still up. I was just watching it right now. So
No, I know, unless some Democrat conspiracy got me over the
gonna-
last 60 minutes. You
we're
know.
gonna have to thank Obama for that one. So thanks, Obama.
I know. Thank you so much, guys. Good night.
Thank you, sir. You take
Thank you,
care.
sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can probably just go to my Facebook page because I do often share. I've
So
been following him
so
for
what do
a
you guys
long
think about this whole canceling the permit or
For
for the
the gun show?
gun show? What do you guys
Ridiculous.
think? It's ridiculous.
time. Politics, that's all. It makes money.
I told a friend of ours, Victoria Nevadas, about she posted it on my wall.
El Paso.
Yeah,
Yes,
3
from El
minutes.
Paso, in the El Paso Liberty Group. She's like, what's going to happen? And I go, they're not going to. My guess is that they're not going to do anything about it because that's $100,000 that they're going to lose, and they got to
Per
pay
year.
Rosemary Lemberg.
Per year.
Yeah, exactly, and they've got to pay Rosemary Lemberg's salary.
And most of the time, that facility just sits there empty.
Yeah.
If they don't have something in it, and that's
So
just
per
losing
year.
their money.
So
And it's nice to have it in our
And then
neighborhood, too.
another
Oh, yeah,
thing is,
definitely.
if you're going to make restrictions a lot tighter than what the federal government and the state of Texas says. So guess what? If you're going to make people do a background check, when they go into that gun show, who's going to pay for that background check? The county is going to have to pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
So is the county ready to pay for that background check?
Hell no.
Oh God, no, they still got. I go back to the whole argument. They got to pay for Lemberg's salary.
They should learn from what happened with the Austin bag ban, from the Austin City Council. You bag plastic bags and then shoplifting increases.
Well,
So
about,
they
about,
should learn from
about
that.
2 miles away from the exposition center, we got the Manor Lions Club. We would be glad to have the gun show come to Manor. We'll make it bigger if
that
necessary.
facility there, you big
Yeah,
enough for it?
It's not big enough, but we've got lots of land around it. We can have them be outdoors. I don't know. We'll find a way to make them happy.
I think we should go to Manor and just and leave Travis County. See-
Well, it's
let me
not
see if
Travis
they can-
County. We'll
Well,
be out of Austin.
it's still part of Travis County, but it wouldn't be at the Travis County facility.
Right.
It would be free
Private
and independent. It'd be free and independent from them.
They've had some good private facilities. They've had it out in the past.
Well, yeah. Last time I was at a gun show, they had it at that place up north Lamar, I guess it was.
So if
Yeah.
you're
Facility.
if you're just chiming in about that, the Travis County Commissioners Court is going to decide tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock whether or not to renew the contract for the Saxa Gun Show, or to impose tighter restrictions on everyone, even a private individual, being able to purchase a firearm inside the gun show. Mind you, the majority of the people that actually sell guns in the gun show are gun dealers who
Right.
do background
Already.
checks.
Yeah.
Already.
I found that very annoying.
How many people do you think are going to bring up Sandy Hook? Seriously, in that whole discussion.
Well, the whole Sandy Hook thing has backfired in Connecticut.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's gone the exact opposite
Well,
way.
look at Colorado. I mean, all the people
Yeah.
that passed that gun ban or the gun changes, they're out.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was voted out. One left on their own, and of course now we've got one of the gun manufacturers over here in Texas.
Right.
Thanks a lot, Colorado. We love it.
Now you can smoke
call,
weed and
so
shoot your
call
gun
the
at the same
county
time.
commissioner tomorrow, or go up there tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock.
30 seconds. Plug yourself, Dave. Quick.
Oh, I got something coming up in 2 weeks. If you go to libertyrising.us, we're having an event here in Austin at the Holiday Inn Northwest. We're going to have Ben Swan, the investigative journalist from Fox News, who got kicked off for asking Obama the questions that weren't on the list. and he's going to come in and talk about some of the investigative reporting he's done and plug his new show. We're going to have a debate between gubernatorial candidates with Miriam Martinez and
10 seconds for
somebody else, Lisa Fritsch.
Central Texas
It's
Democrats.
on the 18th, Saturday 18th at libertyrising.us has all the info.
And on January 19, we will be at the Capitol.
That's it. We got
Wait,
that in
what
early.
are we going to be protesting? Are we going to have gun
Gun
rally?
Rights for America. We're going to be at the Capitol.
And if we bring our